Hello, my name is Matt with mattmademedia.com, and I wanted to go over some of the basics of HDR photography. HDR stands for High Dynamic Range. Although this looks like a complicated technique that requires some mastering in order to accomplish these effects, it's really a software-based process and a matter of knowing how to utilize your camera to take multiple exposures in the brightest and darkest ranges you can achieve for a single scene. The purpose behind the technique is to bring out textures and a more even lighting scheme over the entire scene that you would feels more natural, as if you were standing in front of the subject and not just looking at a single exposed photograph. We achieve this effect in any given scene by taking an initial, composed, quality photograph that's exposed correctly, and then stepping the shutter speed up and down by several increments to get a dark exposure and a light exposure. And by combining those three elements together, we're able to create a more balanced scene. In this example, this photograph of a house is normally going to be taken on the sunniest, brightest side when the lighting conditions are correct. The sun is shining on the front of the home. Instead, we're going to actually compose it where the dark side is the primary subject and bring out the highlights, evening out the tone all the way around the house using the high dynamic range technique. The range of this technique varies from realistic all the way through to surreal, or sort of almost a comic book look to the image. And which one you utilize is entirely up to the appropriate subject matter you're using. Here we're clearly accentuating some of these features to an extent where it would be excessive for whatever commercial photography would require. But it does give the example of how these highlighted areas can come out of almost perceivable blackness on the exposure of the front of the house to give it a more complete image. As we step through this series, notice that the flag in the background is moving, and that what we're trying to achieve is a kind of an effect where the statue's glowing in the end. Any motion at all of the subjects in your photograph are going to create a blurred effect, which can be appealing in some cases and a real distraction in others. And it's up to you as the photographer how you want to utilize that effect. So that is a very quick overview. It's all about setting your shutter speed so that you can get varying exposures of dark and light and have a nice contrast over the image. You want 3 images of different exposures to create the effect and bring out the different highlights and tone. HDR will not make a really boring image amazing. Look for great subjects with a variance of tone in the lighting. It's actually an enhancement of already great photographs. If you want to continue this discussion, I would love to talk about it on facebook.com/mattmademedia. Hope to see you there.